Hey guys, and welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to be talking about Grange Hill, which the first ever episode aired on the 8th of February 1978, which makes it 45 years old this year, and of day of release, this video will be celebrating Grange Hill's 45th anniversary. And today I'm going to be covering Series 1, which first aired in 1978, and yeah, I'm going to be talking about the episodes. There are 9 episodes in the series. I'm just going to be talking about a few moments from some of those episodes, because obviously I can't list all of them. We'd be here forever. But yeah, so I'll go through some moments that happened during Series 1. So it's kind of a review, kind of chat kind of esque video. So let's start by talking about some of the characters. Now we have some of the teachers. So you do have this lovely teacher called Mr. Mitchell, and Mr. Mitchell is a very firm but fair kind of teacher. He knows where he's going in the series, and he kind of has a really kind of authority figure about him, especially when he's like telling off Benny Green and obviously Todd Carty, who plays Tucker, especially when he's telling them two off. I feel like he really captures the kind of like seriousness, and also feels like a really nice kind of teacher. So I feel like his character's very good, and you get to see him throughout the series, and he kind of motivates the pupils, and I feel like that's kind of good. And he also makes them laugh, which I feel like's quite a nice thing to have during a series. And not all of the stuff in this series is really nice, because there are certain things like bullying occurs in the series quite heavily, as well as accidents and fatal stuff like that, really. Um, so yeah, I kind of feel like that's kind of interesting to know that Mr. Mitchell's a really great character. I feel like he's a brilliant guy, and yeah, the actor who plays Mr. Mitchell, he was also in the Piglet Files, which I definitely want to do a video on, but that'll come at some point later down the line. Who knows? So moving on to some of the pupils, you have Justin Bennett, who's basically the geek of the pack. Basically, he's very out of place. Personally, he seems more posher than most of the other kids, and he also does get heavily bullied in Series 1 by Tucker and Benny Green. They seem to pick on him a bit, but I feel like that's because maybe he's like an easy target to them. But yeah, though I do love the point where they do go against him when they actually take his trousers, because they took his trousers originally. They took Justin Bennett's trousers. So then, do you know what? So Justin Bennett did. He took Tucker's trousers, so it made it funny. So how kind of it switched originally. And also, Justin Bennett goes through quite a lot of bad things happen to him in Series 1, particularly him falling off a ladder and smacked down on the floor, and then being put in hospital. Thanks to obviously Benny and Tucker, who then got the cane. Now this is crazy. You know, they got the actual cane. It wasn't shown on screen, obviously, because I don't think that would be allowed to be shown on kids' television. But yeah, I really do like how it does go into the realism of certain things. Like, this is 1978, so it goes into more of the realism of what was going on at that time. But the two characters that I feel like are main focused in centre is definitely Benny Green and Tucker. They're mainly at the centre for most of the series, mainly because of the kind of like back chat and jokes and stuff like that they do. But moving on to other characters in series 1, you also have characters like Trisha Yates and Ann Wilson, who are quite heavily involved in series 1. Well, Trisha Yates, she like kind of wants to be different all the time, which I find a bit odd personally. But she's kind of a bit of a rebel in certain aspects, and him, and Mr. Mitchell and her, they kind of have a nice kind of relationship, I feel like, because he tells her off all the time, but they do get along. And then when she runs away from school, he then goes looking for her, and then confronts her about all of this stuff, and he says to her that lots of bad stuff has happened, and but you can get through this and all that kind of stuff, which I thought was a very nice little character moment between them two. And also Benny does go through quite a lot of character journey as well, because he gets certain bits of like, because he's a bit poor, people take the mickey out of him, the fact he can't afford clothes, particularly Doyle, who is an absolute moron, I think everyone can admit that. But Doyle is, you thought Tucker Jenkins was a bit was a bit weird and a bit, horrible sometimes, but then you see Doyle and you think, who the hell is this Doyle? Because Doyle, I've got to say, this actor plays him amazing. I can't remember his name, but he really does bring that kind of, like, he's very angry and very manipulative, and yeah, I feel like he's kind of a very interesting character. So rather cool character, if I'm completely honest. Very interesting character, my personal opinion. Moving on to other characters, Anne Wilson, who I mentioned. There you go. She's rather posh and is kind of, I would say, more out of place in this school than any of the other. Partly because she's got a very posh accent, which most of the other kids have like kind of a London-esque accent, due to the fact it taking place in London, obviously. But yeah, but she runs for the first year rep kind of role, which I find rather interesting. And obviously Doyle foils, starting to rhyme now. Doyle basically foils the whole of the plan for her to become, obviously, their kind of captain and leader of the first year, which is as we know it as year 7. But they obviously it was first year then because it's 1978. But yeah, so Anne Wilson runs for the kind of prefect kind of esque role or whatever, and they're tallying up the points, and she only gets, I believe, 44 votes, and but Doyle gets 46 votes, I believe, 46 or 45, and because he had forced people to say to vote for him, otherwise he would beat them up and stuff like that, which is not very good. I have to admit. But he then gets found out by the teachers, and then obviously the teachers tell him to go somewhere at break time. Guess he's got detention and stuff like that. But then they take off the votes that have all been added up and all that kind of stuff. And Anne Wilson wins, and everyone's just like, yeah, it's Anne Wilson and stuff like that. So yeah, so Anne Wilson's a pretty good character, personally say. That actress, I've never seen her anything else, but she does a really good job during the first series. She's not in series 2, I believe, but I could be wrong on that because I've started watching series 2. She's not in that yet, so I don't know. But yeah, so she's a very good character, and it all takes place in a tutor group, Form Alpha, I believe that's right. If someone could quote me that on down the comment section down below, but about Form Alpha or whatever it is called. But that's Mr. Mitchell's tutor group, and yeah. So back during the first episode, as I probably should mention, there was an introduction, obviously, to all the characters arriving at Grange Hill. Obviously, it's supposed to be September or whatever, the start of the new year, but it was actually obviously February in reality when the episodes went on broadcast. But so they arrive at the school for the first time ever, and then they get obviously get told to go to the main hall, and Anne Wilson is late, so there are these 3 sixth formers, I believe, and they turn the sign the opposite way to confuse the first years, which I do find really mean and horrible, which I think is a bit weird. And you do see those 3 sixth formers be really mean later in the series, because there was this other girl, and she gets picked on by these 3, and she gets her money stolen, and they even steal her fountain pen or whatever, which I find rather interesting. They really bully her and manipulate her and ask her to take money. But then Trisha Yates, she steps in and like stops them, as well as her sister, who's older. So I feel like that's kind of a good dynamic that they managed to stop her and all of the stuff like that. So that was rather interesting. So that was good. And you also get other scenes with Benny, who I've mentioned previously, but Benny gets quite a good few scenes, particularly with that. Obviously, he's got financial problems. He only gets his school uniform like halfway through series 1, which is a bit odd personally. But he gets it halfway through series 1, which shows like how he's just like struggling for money, and obviously he does stand out for everyone else due to the fact that he doesn't have that, and you do feel really sympathetic towards Benny, and I think Benny's just a brilliant character in my personal opinion, and I do like his relationship with Tucker, so I feel like that's a really great relationship. But he gets more picked on about the money and all that kind of stuff, so much so the PE teachers even have a go at him, and so Justin Bennett lends him a jumper, and he not steals boots, but he borrows boots um, from Anne Wilson. Mentioned Anne Wilson quite a lot. She actually does quite a lot in series 1, surprisingly. But yeah, so he borrows boots from her, and then he uses initiative, and the PE teacher allows it. And yeah, going back to other scenes, you can tell during series 1 how much fun they were having. There's a scene in the swimming pool, and I've got to say, it looked very fun. They got like the benches, and they put them in the water and then used them as boats. It was really fun. It looks very fun. Honestly, I wish I could do that, but yeah, it looked very fun. And you can definitely tell that Todd Carty, who plays Tucker, he was having so much fun in that scene. So much fun. And yeah, I just think series 1 of Grange Hill was pretty good. So moving on to other scenes, Trisha Yates has got quite a few scenes as well, but she's got a scene with her and this other girl, the girl who is obviously previously been bullied. They like look after like a hamster in the cage, and the hamster actually escapes, and then they buy a different hamster, and then they put the hamster in, and it was a different hamster, and then the teacher comes back, who's the science teacher, and the science teacher is played by the actor from Last of the Summer Wine, who was in from series 1 and 3. He wasn't in series 2, surprisingly, but their science teacher is played by the same guy who plays Mr. Wainwright in Last of the Summer Wine. That shocked me, because I don't think I was expecting him to be there. Well, I don't think I was expecting Mr. Mitchell to be played by the same guy from the Piglet Files. I don't think I was expecting that, to be honest. But I feel like I've really enjoyed this series. I hopefully want to do all 31 series, but I don't know whether I can. But I've got to say that series 1, brilliant series, brilliant writer, and it's written by the same writer who wrote Brookside, as well as the same writer who wrote Hollyoaks, and he's still writing it today, I believe. So yeah, I feel like it's just a really good series. Recommend you check it out. I believe all the episodes are on YouTube or BritBox, and I don't know these days. There's so many streaming services and all that kind of weird stuff. I don't know, but it's probably out there somewhere for you to watch. I believe there's a DVD release of that, so if you want to pick that up, I guess that's your choice. But I mainly watched it on like YouTube and certain other stuff like that. But I've got to say that series 1 is a very good series. Obviously, it was aired from the 8th of February, which is the day that this video is coming out, and it finally finished airing on the 5th of April, 1978. So that makes it 45 years old this year. Hope you all enjoyed the video. Please remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in a video soon enough. Bye for now.